It's very interesting in today's society for people to get in a fight and there not be absolute chaos when it comes to two fan bases, especially when it comes to college. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. Hope all of you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Yes, I did address the incident this morning between Flau'jae Johnson, Kim Mulkey, Don Staley, and obviously Cordorzo. We will talk about it here tonight. Because as the day now has gone on, we did a show this morning, and as it's continued to go on, it's gotten crazier and crazier and crazier. I will tell you what I like about some issues that arise in sports in reference to if there's pushing, fighting, whatever, makes rivalries a lot better and a lot bigger. But I think that this thing with Kim Mulkey, as an example, Barstool Sports, Brandon Walker, it's gotten a little out of hand again. I will tell you, there are parts of me that wants this kind of shit to stop. I mean, it's not like Kim's going to stop, nor should she, but defending this as much as you have to defend her and LSU, and always a children's hospital gets brought up because nobody in most southern states could really read. At least some of these fans on Twitter can't read. That LSU had no part of it. It doesn't really matter, and we're here. We are live. Good to be with you. We will talk about that as well. Michael Morris sent in a $1.99 super chat that we will get to. Michael, thank you so much. Gracias. Every time you guys send us super chats, it really, really does help us continue to advance what AYS is doing and the content that we are publishing. Studio doing good things. So we greatly appreciate that. Helps us out, helps me out so much when y'all do that. We will get to that Cardozo issue, if you will, here, or snafu between LSU and South Carolina. I do promise you we'll go on the Ruffino's rants on that one. Also, Carter Bryant joins us at 7:30 like he does most Mondays. Not all Mondays. Sometimes things get in the way, but he will join us there. We'll recap LSU baseball. I see a lot of people freaking out over the loss on Sunday. Okay, I understand what you're saying there. We will talk about it. NFL free agency is underway. A lot of big moves also happening there. And we'll talk about should the Saints make a move as well. Colby Allen, listening to 601 Meridian, Mississippi. Good to have you in here. Great to have all of you in here. But Meridian, Mississippi, the 601 is in the house. Thank you so much for being here. Todd Davis says, everybody hit that ravishing like button. Yes, every time that you hit the like button, an LSU fan is born. And I tell you, give millions and millions of dollars to NIL when they get grown. I promise you that. Todd Davis says, watching from the 504. Michael says he's in the 318 Shreveport, but he's watching from work. So thank you so much for doing that. Don't let your bosses know that you're doing it. Todd Davis says, stupid Atlanta giving Cousins $100 million guaranteed. Ha ha. Ha ha, ha ha. Let me say this. Here is a hot take for you. I don't think Kirk Cousins is as bad as everybody says that he is. Let me repeat what I just said. I don't think Kirk Cousins is as bad as a lot of you make him out to be. I think the Vikings are just not a great franchise. He's had a lot of weapons. He's had a lot of pieces. He's going to have that in Atlanta. But today, right now, he's the best quarterback in the NFC. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. And $100 million, I get that that's guaranteed. He's one of the highest paid quarterbacks to ever, or players really, to ever play in the NFL. I think he's second behind Aaron Rodgers when it comes to total money made in the NFL. So I understand you on that. I just don't think Kirk Cousins is as bad as a lot of people make him out to be. I think that statistically you can back that up as well. And, I'm actually interested behind that. Hold on. Kirk Cousins stats. I'm very interested to see. Let's see, 2023, this year he got hurt. He had 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, had a 70% completion percentage. That's not bad. Last year had 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So let's see this. Of the last, since 2015, He's had a couple years where he's thrown 30, 35, 33 touchdown passes. I mean, he hasn't been bad. Guys, he's thrown 270 touchdown passes in the NFL. So, yeah, the greatest thing, and I tweeted this out in case you missed it, the greatest thing about Coco Chains, I should say, going to Atlanta means that Jaden Daniels is not going to Atlanta. Like, they're not going to trade up to go get Jaden Daniels, which now with Baker Mayfield signing, I mean, it's probably the best thing that could have happened. He's just not going to be here. He signs with Tampa, Baker. So yeah. Brandon Reed says the Vikings should trade up to get Jaden. They might. Andrew Paulson Martin says the bats getting cold or going cold is concerning. Pitching is leaving no doubts. 2 of 3 against a tournament team last season. They knocked out Vanderbilt. It's fine. Yeah, so I think Paulson brings up a very interesting point. Okay. You went 2 and 3 against a regional team last year. Justin Lohr, actually, believe it or not, he was on that team last year. I mean, you're talking about, it's like basically, how do I want to say this? It's like basically having a 3-game series with ULL and losing one. Yeah, bound to happen, right? Like, I get what you're saying. I understand what a lot of you have said about what's going on with LSU baseball. I'm just not going to overly panic necessarily to there being a situation where you win 2 or 3 against a regional team last year. I'm just not. Like, I'm really not. And I think Paul's Hub brings up a really good point there that we were going to talk about. Casey says 100% I am relieved that Jaden Daniels is not going anywhere. Not good for the Saints, though. It is not. And I think Kirk Cousins, to Casey's point here, he's the best quarterback in the division. Like, he is the best quarterback in the division. He is better than Bryce Young right now. He's better, I think, than Baker Mayfield. Now, how does he come off the Achilles, meaning Kirk, maybe? He's certainly better than Derek Carr. And, yeah, he's better than those 3, right? Like, he is 1,000% better than those 3. We'll see. S. Young says Florida has lost games they shouldn't have also. Doesn't mean they won't be in Omaha. Yeah, I understand the concern because, look, it's one thing. Here's what I've always noticed, okay, when it comes to baseball, at least covering LSU since 2017. When you have a team that can hit and just score runs on anybody, everybody will say, and especially if pitching is bad, the takes will be, yeah, I know the pitching will find their way, but you can hit with anybody. You're going to get hits on anybody. When there's a team where pitching is dominating early and the bats have gone cold, people panic quicker, okay, with a good staff and good pitching versus what you can do at the plate. That's just how it normally goes. Now, I will admit, we're going to talk about Sunday. I mean, definitely going to talk about Sunday. I do think that they're a little beat up. You know, I think you got a lot of good things to look for, like Ethan Fry, as an example. Even though he got hurt and his shoulder got knocked out of place, I mean, he was looking really good. Hopefully that doesn't set him back much. I just think we need to calm down a little bit on the takes. I think we need to calm down a little bit on the hot takes. All right, a couple more before we get rolling. Chris Lomax says, I think Tommy Tanks is trying too hard. I agree with that. I personally, I do want him to just look, brother, try. And this is what happened with him last year. I mean, guys, he missed 10 games? How many games did he miss to start the season? Maybe I'm wrong on the 10. I agree with what you're saying. I just, again, believe it's way too early. Guys, you played 15, 16 games total? I mean, you got so 16. You got 40 more to go. I mean, you're not even close to halfway through. So you got a lot more. And FCC play is this weekend. Very long season. All right, last one before we get rolling here. Kobe Allen says, #AskBlake, where do you think Jaden Daniels gets drafted? Curious on what your opinion is. As of right now, and I want to say this, Colby, because I think this should be subject to change. Like I feel like I should be able to change my take on this, depending on what actions and other free agencies and what teams do trade in, trade out. I just think he goes to Washington. If Washington doesn't trade with Chicago to go get Caleb, which I don't think that they are, I do think that he would go to Washington. If he doesn't, I think he goes to New England. I really have a hard time believing that Jayden Daniels gets out of the top 3, because today or was it yesterday or today, Mac Jones is going to Jacksonville. They need a quarterback, and it's going to probably be one of the 3. Maybe it is Drake May. I don't know. But I do think that Jayden Daniels, I can't envision a world where he gets out of it. Now, if he does, then maybe – I could just be wrong. I can't envision a world where he does, because he's, in my opinion, I'm just going to be honest. In my opinion, you can call me biased. It's fine. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. I don't think that there's a question. I don't think there's a remote question. I just don't think that Caleb Williams works out. I really don't. I really don't. I think he's going to be a cancer wherever he goes. And if it's Chicago, it would probably both of them cancers. So that organization doesn't take winning very seriously. All right, let's get rolling. Everybody, do us a favor by hitting the like and share. If you're on Facebook, like to all those social media groups, like to all of those social media pages. If you're listening to us, watching us on YouTube, like, subscribe, and notification bell wherever you listen to podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. Let's talk about it. Or actually, you know what? Let them tell you, or me tell you about them. You know what I mean? We're going to go quick break. We got to discuss what happened with LSU women's basketball, LSU baseball weekend. Carter Bryant joining us soon. We got to talk some football in spring. We do all that next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events, with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah. We're back.
All right. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. So, yesterday, SEC championship game between the Lady Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Listen, I talked about this morning. I'm going to kind of echo. So, if you watch this morning, I apologize on around your SEC. I do apologize about that. But we got to talk about it here because this is our main LSU show. I think that fighting or squabbles, if you will, in sports can be healthy. I think rivalries can be healthy. They are always very healthy. I think the two biggest teams in the SEC, clearly, regardless if LSU is one or not, against them is South Carolina and with Dawn Staley and LSU now with Kim Mulkey. Yesterday, and this isn't the first time that LSU or Dawn Staley or Kim Mulkey both have had comments maybe they should have walked back after a game in this rivalry, or what is starting to become a rivalry. But yesterday, you know what happened. All of you saw the video. You know I don't have to go into detail about it. There was an incident where number 2 from South Carolina got in Flau'jae Johnson's face. She puts her hands up, kind of pushes her around the chest neck area. And then Cardozo, the 6'8" center for South Carolina, runs up and just runs over, like her name was Bo Jackson, Flau'jae Johnson. Our brother, gets out onto the court, which I highly condemn. And that, look, regardless of what happens, no fan should go out in the court. No family member should go out in the court unless something really bad was happening that was life-threatening. Fans have no business being on the court. Let's not act as if, though, and I've seen a lot of people coming after Kim. I've seen a lot of people coming after Flau'jae. LSU is a brand in general. There are 2 things that I think about this. Number 1, I'm getting about sick and tired of this shit getting political, because nothing that Dawn Staley said, nothing that Flau'jae Johnson or Cardozo did, nothing that Kim Mulkey did has anything to do with any kind of matter that normally gets talked about during the political season. Nothing. There's not a fucking thing that happened in this situation that should be political. I apologize for my language, but that is the truth. Now, in reference to the incident, okay, everybody wants to push this. Well, Angel Reese pulled Cardozo's hair. Well, I actually, because it's my job to do it, but went back and watched before Angel Reese pulled Cardozo's hair, which everybody's alleging that started it. Angel Reese got a pretty nasty elbow from Cardozo too. So let's not act as if that Cardozo or both sides weren't throwing it. Did you see Anissa Morrow's face? She's got a black eye under her left eye. At least that's what it looks like. It was very puffy. I don't know if it was from that game. I don't know when that was from. But bottom line is, she looked like she got hit with one of those elbows in her eye, her damn self. Both teams were chippy. Both sides have issues where this is going back and forth. If you want to start this, she started. Bullshit. You got to go all the way back to when Dawn Staley went on air and said that if LSU would have given Nikki Fargas the resources to compete like they're giving Kim, she would have won here. To not only discredit Kim and her accomplishments, but to also talk shit and bring up a situation that should not have been brought up and the context that she was bringing it up in. The bottom line is that this goes back. It doesn't really give a damn who started what. When Flau'jae had number 2, excuse me for not remembering her name, gets in Flau'jae's face, bumps her, and starts walking off, what Cardozo did was complete Bush League. Complete and utter Bush League. I don't understand how you can say, well, Flau'jae with someone in her face kind of pushes, and that gives Cardozo the right to come over there and ram into Flau'jae Johnson. I don't understand it. Now, what's also pissing me off, and it's pissed me off from the beginning of this, but this is what happens in women's basketball. Quite honestly, it's extremely messy. When shit happens out on the court or shit is said in a press conference, people start going to social media, talking that shit, all right? And everybody on social starts losing their godforsaken minds. They do. All logic goes out the damn building. Kim Mulkey, it was clipped and is all over social media, said in her interview, which was clipped out, by the way, for a purpose so that people could get clicks. She said that the actions by Flau'jae and by Cardozo, everybody, That's not us as an institution. That's not us as a program. And that has no business being in the game. But nobody in their godforsaken mama thought it would be even worthy to add context to the situation, and that Kim Mulkey said that. The only thing that they said about her in what they brought up was, I wish you would have did that shit to Angel. You're damn right. And any of you in the South that says the same goddamn thing, you know that what Kim is saying is an expression that's used a lot about fighting in the South. For example, of anybody in the media, and I mean anybody in the media. I actually like him a lot, believe it or not. Shannon Sharp. Shannon, you're from rural Georgia. Don't tell me what Kim Mulkey said. Please don't tell me what Kim Mulkey said is not, you don't know that it's not an expression. From a guy who's a Hall of Famer and has gotten in multiple fights. You were ready to get in an altercation with Mike Epps because he said you were a little, well, flamboyant. So Kim Mulkey's got to have class, but you don't. You know, the good book said something about casting a first stone. Here's the ultimate truth about what Kim Mulkey said. Pick on somebody your own size, and I bet you wouldn't do that to the toughest player on our team. And you know what? She's actually not wrong, because Angel Reese gets elbowed, she pulls Cardozo's hair, and she just sits there and stares at her. Because the Baltimore would have come out in Angel Reese, and a 1-2, uppercut would have come right back in her way. You know that. I know that. My Meemaw knows that. Everybody knows that. One final thought on this before we get to LSU baseball weekend. And I don't have time. I might have to split this up into parts, or maybe we just do that after we talk to Carter Bryant, because we do got to talk about some baseball here. The thing for me, it's simple. I will push back on one area and one problem that I have, and that does frustrate me. We are having way too many incidents like this in women's college basketball, where it turns very political very quickly. I will remind everybody that we can grow a sport without that being that engaging part. Maybe we can. You know what? Maybe in today's society, maybe we can. Oh, heavens. Good heavens. But if Angel Reese would have done what Cardozo did, the internet would have literally broke. It would have broke. It would have shattered. The internet would have broke so bad that Elon Musk couldn't fix it. He'd have to get one of them spaceships he sent to Mars to bring him and go to the universe to find different ways to rebuild the internet, because it would have broken yesterday if that would have been Angel Reese. You know it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. If you're going to condemn Kim Mulkey about de-escalating a situation, got to be a little bit honest with you. I don't mind the fire or fight. I will say that the fight that I do mind is that it happens a little bit too often on some of the controversial things that she says. But it doesn't matter. That's her. That's what you sign up for. It's 100% what you sign up for. So if you're going to take the winning, you're going to take the success, you're going to take sometimes her talking about like COVID at the podium. Like she's playing against Southeastern. She goes to the podium, makes a statement about COVID, which my views on the whole situation doesn't matter. I actually could 100% agree with her to some extent. Let me be quiet. Don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole, but the only truth is that it's unwarranted. Some of those things are unwarranted. But if you're going to condemn her, don't be lazy. You need to go watch the entire press conference. Because what happened is, like what most of you did that think it's bad, is you didn't go and get the full context. You were too lazy to do it. Maybe you were eating maybe you were eating dinner, okay? Yesterday we had, what did we have last night for dinner? I can't even remember. Oh, we actually went to Subway. Subway, eat fresh. Actually, not that bad. I hadn't had Subway in a long time. Maybe you were eating after the fact that the game was over. Maybe you were, Sunday. I don't know what you were doing. But I tell you what, a lot of you didn't do is go and watch that press conference. You just didn't. I'm assuming that he means Morrow here, but Michael Morris with a $199 super chat says that Morrow was from the Auburn game on Friday. Okay, see, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Regardless, let's not. And here's another thing that I never brought up in this entire situation. The referees in the SEC should have stepped in well before that situation escalated the way that it did. There is one massive problem that Greg Sankey has, and Greg Sankey has been a fantastic commissioner for the SEC, but he has had his biggest issue that I would say that he has had, or things that he's done. He has been a horrible commissioner when it's come to fixing officiating in all sports. Like, it's that bad. It has gotten worse since he's been the commissioner. With that, it's his biggest bugaboo. That's a white person thing to say, but it is. It's his biggest bugaboo. All right. Got to get to Carter Bryant. This is what we're going to do. We're going to talk to Carter, and after we're done talking with him, we got a lot of baseball that we need to talk about as well here. So let's do this. Let's get to a quick break. We got some football we got to discuss here too. Got some football we got to discuss. Spring football starts last week. Garrett Nussmeier kind of lighting up in the secondary. You know what? We talk about that next with our good friend Carter Bryant. Stay with us. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
We call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino with AYS sent you on by.
Carter, the Power Bryant. Good evening, good sir.
Feels good, Blake, that Jaden Daniels will not be a Falcon.
Oh, God.
That's all I've been thinking about today. Actually, I was thinking about two things, Blake. I was thinking about Jaden Daniels not being a Falcon.
Okay.
And if people want to see the contract numbers, I tweeted all of them out earlier today. It is still crazy that the 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017 lowest rated recruits in the LSU recruiting classes are like so generationally wealthy now. Russell Gage, Foster Moreau.
Cushenberry with a big deal today.
And that's where I actually just wanted to point out, because it kind of flew under the LSU media radar. That is like one of the best stories like ever. And it was crazy. Like, you know, Blake, you're a former offensive lineman. You know how hard it is to play center. It's even harder to play center when you go from a 2018 run-based attack to then 2019, lots of five wide. Five wide's really hard on a center.
A lot of 5-man protections.
Exactly. That's really hard to do. So that's why
the
Lloyd
hardest thing is a center.
Yeah. So shout out to Lloyd Cushenberry. I hope you're watching. Big shout out to you being the highest paid center in NFL history today. Good stuff.
Yeah, that it just goes to continue to prove, how good that 2019 LSU team was when you continue to be that successful. It's funny, Carter. We worry about guys that LSU misses, but never talk about these stories because it doesn't fit a general negative era or negative. Like this era is so negative, so it doesn't fit. What you just mentioned. Of all of those, though, who is the biggest surprise? I think for me, it's Russell Gage.
Yeah, easily
long in the league.
Yeah, that's to where Tom Brady actually recruited him to go to the Buccaneers. So, yeah, it's definitely the biggest surprise because the other three guys were like real bona fide multiple-year studs. Russell Gage, his final year had as many carries as he had receptions, basically. So, the fact that it's crazy. The Canada offense was wild, but yeah, definitely Russell Gage. And one more thing, I didn't include Duke Riley, who was the third lowest on 3 industry recruit from the year before. So it is just unreal. And now I'm getting excited. DJ Chester wearing that Lloyd Cushenberry number 79. Maybe he's next in line. We'll see.
We will see, indeed. Carter, let me ask you this. Now, I want to get to the South Carolina and LSU thing with you, but I want to table that for a minute because I think we're going to spend a lot of time on that. So I just want to table that for just a moment. But spring football started this past week, and we were out there on Thursday. Got to see a lot of good things. I guess from your perspective, what have you seen so far from LSU football early in spring, and what are some things that are standing out to you?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm hearing is Jordan Gilbert looks the part. Now, once again, that just looks. I don't think any one of our viewers wants to hear about looks. They just want to see action, right? But that's really positive, right? Because a lot of these defensive back transfers don't have a lot of playing experience. Jordan Gilbert actually does. And he is coming off a shoulder injury and a lot to prove. And he is on a practice field that is literally a stone's throw away from where he played his game. So good to see him back home. And then obviously offensively, Blake, it is interesting that AJ Swan's getting the 2 reps over Ricky at this point. It's not really a shock, but I want to see Ricky battle. I want to see him say, "Look, I'm that guy. I should be the top backup." But really, it's just so early. There's not a whole lot you can just take away. You've obviously had very limited access up to this point. But yeah, it's spring football. It's something.
Where's that Ricky thing coming from? Because when we were out there and everything I seen, he's been running with the 2s.
Okay, well, at least in the individual drills when they did like the
bag work,
not the bag work when they ran the 2-minute drill versus air. But I do agree. Like it is interesting that in like
but when we were out there when they did some quick team stuff, he was number 2. So
okay.
I was.
That's my fault. In the individual drill, so he was going second. In some of the individual bag work kind of stuff. But
we're kind of fighting over some. They're going to battle for that number 2 spot anyway.
Yeah,
we're fighting
exactly.
over semantics on that.
So I do want to see Ricky win the job, though. Obviously, I'm going to be biased towards a Louisiana guy, but he does give you a little bit of an extra dynamic as a backup coming onto the field with some running ability. And sometimes, let's just say, God forbid, Garrett Nussmeier were to go down, Blake, sometimes a dual threat coming into the game is harder for the defense to adjust to because you're adjusting to play more of a pocket presence kind of guy. So that's another piece of me that wants Ricky to win this job and be a part of the offense. But obviously, Blake, like you said, we're still so early in our process here with the spring drills, and look forward to see what's next.
I am. So there's a couple of things I'm worried about that I want to touch with you on. In reference to Swan, I think he's got an explosive arm. like what we've seen so far, okay, in reference to now that he's healthy, okay, like he took a beating last year. I think he can make some really good throws. I don't think you bring him in to not be number 2, if that makes sense. Like if Garrett goes down, you go in the game. We'll see how that transpires. You talked about Jordan Gilbert. I agree with you there. Here's the problem to add on to that. We've seen some stuff with him early where he's had some really nice pass breakups. A guy from the portal, A&M, Louisiana guy. Carter, all they've shown, though, okay, and all that we've really seen is Garrett Nussmeier lighting that ass up. I am not worried, but when you see that, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I am. But it's not anything that's just shocking. I'm not worried per se that it's just so early, right? There could be some guys to emerge. We're only a few practices in. But there is a piece of me that doesn't want to go through this again. And I think you have 300 people that are currently watching your stream that agrees with me and you on this. So yeah, I'm going to be worried about this LSU secondary until they actually, piece it together next season. And I hope Blake Baker and Corey Raymond earn every bit of their salary next year, because if they do, that means LSU fielded a better secondary than they did last year. So yeah, there's a piece of me that's thinking, oh, I don't want Brian Kelly at spring media days or summer media days to be saying basically the same thing. And if you are a super diehard LSU football fan and you listen to every single interview Brian Kelly did over the offseason, he was hinting that this secondary could be a disaster, which it was. So now, Blake, I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I think they'll just by default get better. But will they be good? That is my concern. Just be solid. I'm not asking for 2011 LSU to come back. I'm not asking for 2019 LSU to come back. I just want good, solid SEC level defensive back play.
Brian Kelly went on with Josh Pate last year and basically, in coach translation said our secondary sucks.
Yeah. If you really listen to that interview, that was when that one interview was like, wow. Because right before that interview was when he gave the interview to USA Today and he said, hey, we're not national championship ready. And then there wasn't really a whole lot of.
Yeah, I agree with that because I wouldn't buy I wasn't, because he wound up saying that he thought that they would be. But that just felt like coach speak. It felt like something Saban says, like rat poison. Right. But the Pate interview was like, he goes, yeah, our secondary ain't any good.
And that added specificity. And if you piece those two interviews together, you were able to, figure that out.
Right.
So hopefully Brian Kelly is more honest with the media than other coaches. He's a little bit more forthright with the media than other coaches. I hope we hear during the spring, so-and-so in the secondary is stepping up. And Blake, that guy could be Javian Toviano, right? A very bizarre true freshman season where he finally had to play. Some of it was by default. But man, when he played, he was semi-decent. Now, where there's some bumps and bruises in there, yeah, there's some missed tackles there, some bad mistakes in there, but at least he showed up. At least he was boots on the ground playing hard, and at least he made some plays. Can't say that about a good bit of the corners who actually played last season. So hopefully number 25, the former top 50 recruit, is a guy that we are raving about next year.
I'm not. Let me tell you what my thoughts on it are on this. Am I worried in the back of my mind? Yes, I'm worried about this defense and secondary, but you can't. I think you got to watch if the coaches that you brought in, Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, Jake Olson, Kevin Peoples, and Bo. God dog it,
Bo Davis.
Bo Davis. I almost called him Bo Jackson, but yeah. Bo Davis. Okay, are supposed to be the developmental pieces that they are and the dudes that they are. Well, you got to watch them develop, and no better way to watch them develop than during spring when they're having to do it. It got Carter. If by the end of this, we're looking at the secondary, or we're looking at the linebacker room, or we're looking at the defensive line saying, hey, man, they might not be as bad as we ultimately thought. then okay, maybe we can get there. But on the flip side of that, okay, what does it say about Nussmeier that he's lighting these dudes up right now? So there comes a question of tug and pull. Like, because of last year, is the secondary just really that bad, right? Like, again, or is it the flip side, which I'll ask you, what have you seen from Garrett Nussmeier so far?
Yeah, obviously I'm very high on Garrett Nussmeier. Blake, I think I mentioned this last week. I'll mention it again. The Heisman odds have been sharper the past couple of years, which is good, right? Garrett is third in the Heisman odds, right? Obviously, Kyron Lacy is the real deal. I think he's going to make a pretty massive leap next year. And Garrett's just that guy. I mean, he's just amazing. I mean, there's just no other way around it. I mean, we saw what he did versus Georgia a few years ago. I know that was in mop-up duty, but Georgia still had their guys out there, like they're better guys. And then, of course, we saw what he did in the bowl game, which is really impressive, 96-plus yard drive. And the guy just continues to light up the entire world at LSU practice. And that's not really a shock to anyone that goes to practice quite a bit, like you do, Blake, as a member of the media. But people that actually are there every day will tell you that Garrett Nussmeier is just an amazing practice player. He throws such a great ball. Mechanically, he is really well put together. And that makes sense with your dad being a high-level quarterback coach. But he's just a good leader. He's always been good in the locker room. And yeah, there some things to work on. Yeah, of course, turnovers are always something with him. But man, he could be very, very special and in New York next season. And what would make him go into New York next season, Blake, just as impressive as Jaden going to New York next season is, Jaden Hamalik and BTJ, right? I think Kyron's going to be really good. I don't think anyone is expecting Kyron to be on their level. So that would be crazy if Garrett Nussmeier is able to pull that off. So obviously very bullish on Garrett and really excited about him behind this good LSU offensive line, baby. Let's go.
You worried about Ricky Collins and other players going to work out with Jay? Like, let me ask you, how do I want to ask this? Did you see the Danny Don report today in reference to Ricky Collins and a couple receivers going to California to work out with Jaden Daniels?
No, I didn't. I did not.
Okay. Well, Ricky Collins was there. And this is the second time that we have a story out there that players are going to get in extra work during the weekend or week or whatever during the spring, and Garrett Nussmeier is not involved.
That doesn't really worry me though, Blake.
Okay. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I'll tell you this. Ricky,
I agree with you. I'm just trying to ask the question. I don't want to lead that people think that I think that that's a problem. Just
no. I know this is why though. If you really look closely, Ricky is around Jaden a lot. Okay, like
a lot.
Like it's not. I'm not just talking about in the practice rooms. I'm talking about just
on the sidelines, in pictures. I mean,
I mean, even in houses, like outside the facility and stuff like that, you'll see Ricky pop up. So Ricky and Jaden have a good relationship. That's not something I'm worried about. If anything, it says something good about Ricky, right? That he's willing to understand that he needs to take that next leap, like Jaden Daniels, and it is going to take Ricky another leap, right? Because look, the Blake, I think what happened with Florida State last year just shows you that the backup quarterback is the second most important player on your team, right? It's a make or break thing,
without question.
And LSU is taking it very seriously. Look, this is one thing I'll say about the AJ Swan thing. I'm not as well versed into the behind the scenes details or whatever, but I will tell you, boots on the ground in South Carolina felt really good that Swan was going there. And he didn't.
LSU started to get recruiting, man. Like they did not take no for an answer.
Yes. And as you know, Blake, I've done radio in South Carolina and
a lot. Yep.
Yeah. So they felt good. That's basically what I was told. I was like, okay, well, Swan's just not going to happen. And Blakers well connected with anyone with LSU. When you tweeted out that Swan graphic, I was like, let's go, let's lock in. And
Yeah, can I tell you something?
yeah,
Nobody gave me credit until you just did that right there.
I did, because I just kind of gave up on it. I didn't make any LSU calls or anything. I was like, okay, well, South Carolina, they feel good about it. And there are some throws that AJ Swan made last season. There was one versus Tennessee that was like, wow, that is near special. And it's a kind of throw that the Joe Sloan likes. It was a slot fade, right? We don't win games last year if the slot fade never existed, right? So yeah, I'm really excited to see AJ, really excited to see Ricky, and also really excited to see Colin here in a few weeks for the 1 p.m. Central spring game.
Yeah, we got the Alabama slot. Jared Addison sends us a $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much there, my man Jared. All right, Carter, I'm going to cut the football a little bit short here. I got to get to a question with you. This incident yesterday with Kim Mulkey and her at the podium, but let's even back up to that, or before that, the incident with Cardoza and Flau'jae Johnson. It's been a very hot topic today. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I have never, and look, there's a lot of things I disagree with Kim Mulkey on. I have never in my life seen the national media so wrong about something when it comes to Kim Mulkey's reaction to this. Blake, this wasn't some angry tirade. She just brought up, pick on someone your own size. Isn't that what everyone is told growing up? Like, you wouldn't, even if you and I got super mad, you would never fight me because you're way bigger than me. You pick on somebody your own size. And Cardoza went up there and Ronnie lauded her. I mean, what else? I just don't understand why people are so soft now that Kim Mulkey can't back up one of her players. And South Carolina, once again, I was disgusted hearing the hoity-toityness, the holier than thou. Dude, it was pissing me off so much. And something else, Blake, that just made me so angry about it was this idea that the media just can't admit that they hate Kim Mulkey. Just say it. Just say you. Hey, what's up, Ben? Is that Ben?
Yeah, say, hey, Mr. Carter, and then go out.
Hey, Mr. Carter.
Hey, Mr. Carter. Tell me where you been. Go close the door. Days on the show. Go. We're at work. Close the door, boy. Close the door. All right, but I was listening to you. Continue.
Yeah, I would just like the media to say, I don't like Kim Mulkey, and I'm going to use every opportunity where she says something that not everyone agrees with to say how much I hate Kim Mulkey, whether it's Barstool, whether it's Shannon Sharp, whether it's
Barstool, believe it or not, for whatever reason, besides Brandon Walker, who he just hates Kim Mulkey just for the hell of it. Dave Portnoy put on a blog, I think he called it, in reference to defending Kim Mulkey.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, but Shannon Sharp, so to your point, okay. What Kim ultimately said was, like you said, pick on somebody your own size. I bet you won't do that to Angel. She's not meaning fight Angel. And the context before that, which people are so lazy in doing, they didn't go and clip the 15 seconds which she had beforehand, which she said, there is no part of this in the game. From everybody included us as well. They clipped that part. Yeah. But see, here's the problem and why women's basketball, quite honestly, is starting to piss me off a little bit, is that every time that we have one of these incidences normally in South Carolina, it turns into a political discussion.
Oh, it does. Yeah, because
and that's the part where I'm out of. Yeah. I am out of being – look, you know me better than probably anybody. If there is racism or whatever, let's link arms. Let's attack it together. Yeah. I will be an advocate until the day that I die, without question, about stupid racism. But Carter, we made this about a situation it had no business being about.
Yeah, and I just wish people would say I don't like Kim Mulkey. And I do commend the media. Just some of the media said, I just don't like Kim Mulkey, and that's okay. Just admit it. You just don't like her.
I don't like Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I because I just don't see what Kim did that was wrong. That like she basically just said, "Hey, this is not good. It was wrong. Flaugier was wrong." But then again, it's at the same time, Blake, good for the sport for this reason. Okay, it is good for a non like A-list sport for two A-listers to go at it. Don Staley and Kim Mulkey are the two biggest coaches in the sport. They have both surpassed Gino in terms of cultural relevancy. And Pat Summitt is no longer with us, unfortunately. And Tara Vanderveer is a great coach. Tactically, she's probably the best to ever live. But
Right.
But it's Kim Mulkey and Don Staley. And I like the fact that they don't see eye to eye on everything. It's good for the sport. You need those natural rivalries because Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and all of them, they'll eventually move on, right? And I like Dawn Staley. I really do. Like, she is one of the best coaches of all time. And this run that South Carolina is going on is a truly transcendent run that they're going on. But like I said this last time on my show, and I know we're running out of time here, I do think there is a piece of South Carolina that is jealous of LSU. And
wouldn't you be?
Yeah, but look, South Carolina has been a better program than LSU. That is an objective fact, but they're not culturally relevant like LSU is. And I do think there is a hint of jealousy when it comes to that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I really do think so. And yesterday on my show, Jared was in there. There's a few others that were in there. I said this at length. South Carolina is a better program, but sometimes the best program is not the most culturally relevant, right? There's a lot of famous bands where solo artists have moved on. Sometimes it's not the best singer of the group that becomes the biggest star of the group, right?
Right.
LSU's not the best program, but it's LSU. South Carolina wishes they were LSU, and I think there's a piece of that. So,
LSU changed women's college basketball last year.
They did, and you can
combine with Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark was doing what she was doing. LSU's stardom brought it to the map. LSU's Twitter made it socially relevant to talk women's basketball.
Yeah, and even Caitlin Clark has probably moved ahead of South Carolina in terms of cultural relevancy. So I think that's part of why South Carolina has been motivated, right? It
doesn't stop what Cardozo did, though, which quite honestly, it was early in this discussion, Carter. It was the talking point. Like, everybody was debating on whose fault it was. But as soon as Dawn Staley, who, by the way, also blamed it on Flaugier, okay, by not saying, like, her saying, well, Flaugier apologized, said it was her fault too. No, you're trying to dismiss blame on your own. You just did it in a different way. See, she did it in a different way. Her message is still the same. But can I tell you the funniest tweet I saw in all this?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. It comes from our good friend Ryan McGee. Now, Ryan's a guy I've talked to a couple of times here, and I think we haven't gotten him on the show because he does his late night thing as well. So it's very difficult to get him on. We're going to have to get him on, maybe do a recorded spot with him.
Yeah.
But he said this: I very much appreciate, Kim Mulkey and all that she has accomplished in her chosen profession. But she is the cousin at the funeral who leans over during the eulogy and asks out loud, when the hell do we eat? Here's the tweet right here, if you can see it better now. This has got to be the funniest thing I've ever read.
Yeah, it's
Oh God, that was so great. Good for Ryan McGee.
Yeah.
Are you getting tired of where this goes though? Because look, we've defended coaches before, meaning You defend Brian Kelly, be like people said, oh, he doesn't like to recruit, but he's not having these political discussions, Carter. You know what I mean? Like he's not involved in these things. Is there any part of you that kind of brings you away from the sport in some regards? Like, man, if I tweet about this, it's just going to be an outright war.
Yeah, a little bit. But I do think, Blake, the biggest existential crisis to women's college basketball is the officiating.
All right, let's talk about that. I want to ask you a question, but continue. I got a big question for you.
So I will consider myself a semi-decent expert on this topic because I am not a referee, nor am I a high-level basketball player. However, Blake, I've called a lot of JUCO women's and men's college basketball games this year. Okay, so I see it at the Division I Power 5 level, where I've watched more women's basketball than I've ever watched because of LSU's dominance. And in South Carolina, Caitlin Clark, it's just good stuff. It's really good television. And I've also watched a lot of JUCO stuff. And because of my nieces, I've watched a good bit of high school men's and women's college basketball. The women's basketball officiating at every single level is worse than the men's. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That'll get misconstrued and taken a bunch of different ways. It's just how I see it. I'm not telling you that the men's officiating is great. It's not, but it's better. It is way better. And
like Carter, you got a referee running away from the fight yesterday. And we got it on film. We got pictures of you. You became a meme. You know, like, I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And that's going to get shredded every different direction. And that's okay. I'm just calling you. I'm just telling you like it is. The women's
game. A hot take? Can I give you a hot take? Greg Sankey is arguably the best commissioner that we've ever had. Arguably.
Yeah.
Okay. His biggest issue that he's ever had, and nobody talks about it because Greg Sankey walks on water, SEC officiating as a whole has degraded every year in his reign in every sport.
Yeah. No, I would say it was probably, I mean, I'd have to go back to the Slive era, but I mean,
I just mean under Sankey, this is his biggest bugaboo. This is his biggest issue that he hasn't addressed.
Yeah. And look, so some of that is Steve Shaw. Some of it is more than just him, but you're right. I will agree with you. And it's got to be officiated better. I understand that women's basketball is very different than men's basketball, from the athleticism to how the game is played. It's just different. But I'm telling you right now, the Final Four was just bad. 9 million people watched that, and it wasn't good. It really wasn't good. So I hated that. I really did, and I hate it for the sport.
Last question for you here, and I'll get you out of here. Carter, did you read the Ross Dellinger piece about college football and the money revenue share for the playoff?
Yeah, so the SEC and the Big Ten won.
Yes, 58% or whatever it was, or 52%. I forget. Yeah. Carter, I think we're getting close to something big here. I think we got a massive situation on our hands. When you continue to read these things, like what Ross Dellinger piece yesterday or Friday, whatever it was, what were your thoughts about this revenue share and playoff and conferences massively disagreeing?
Yeah, I didn't read the full piece, and I'm a friend of Delhi, so my apologies to that. I found what Trent Dilfer said to be even more alarming.
I agree.
And Trent Dilfer can be an alarmist. He could be dramatic. But that was...
He ain't lying about this, though. He ain't lying about that.
I'm sorry, my nose has been running. I ate some very spicy food before I came on here. I never eat before I go on here, but...
No, yeah. I think what's happened here is that you're still so excited for the call that you had when the dude missed the three and he made his own.
Oh, my God. That's been passed around quite a bit. But shout out to Raheem for that dunk. That was
I cannot believe it.
I couldn't. I don't think I've ever seen someone rebound their own three as a dunk. If people want to see the highlight, it's on my Twitter account. If you enjoy the call fine. I hope you do. I did throw my headphones off, which I shouldn't have done. I don't think my bosses were happy about that. I think they're still in shape, but I did feel a little crack. So hopefully they don't take that out of my my check. But
But back to the deli piece.
yeah. So look, I was more concerned what Dilfer said because it seemed real, right? I'm not the biggest Trent Dilfer guy. I did miss the Dilfer's dime segments, but Blake, that's got me worried, man. It really, really, really does. I don't know exactly what that is that he was referencing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Adrian Bailey with a $4.99 super chat says Duke was the best program back in the days, but the Fab Five were more popular, like LSU over USC and the others.
It's debatable, but the Fab Five was definitely more like it had a bigger cultural influence. I do agree, but
and when a big program who historically football is their thing, and they win big in another sport.
Okay, that's a great
because of the numbers that a Michigan and LSU. I mean, Carter, it took LSU to win a women's tournament. Okay, for this to explode because Twitter was exploding. Yeah. And so everybody and their mama started tweeting about it. So, I mean, 9 million people, Carter.
Yeah, and look,
that's more than some NBA Finals games.
It's crazy. And look, I say this as someone that's had the good fortune of working with Coach K before. I am not the biggest Duke basketball fan. I'm just not. What that Flipikowski guy is doing right now, what he did this past weekend versus whoever it was against, they got to get it together. I'm glad Duke is being
UNC.
hated.
It was North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, it was UNC. So he sticks, for those that didn't see, he sticks his leg out. And then earlier we had the court storming thing where he's like just running into someone on purpose to eat something. I hope Duke gets knocked down in the first round so bad. But that's good. That's good for college basketball. It's good that Duke is being hated again.
I guarantee you, Grayson, because Flipikowski denied like even trying to trip him.
Oh, I know. And I love, dude. You could see the wry smile on his face. That he knows what he was doing.
You know. My first thought when I heard his I didn't know that happened was Grayson Allen was somewhere smiling.
Yes, and God, I'm so glad I did. And I told Coach K this once. It's better. It's better when Duke is good. It's better. It just is. And you can hate you can hate them with all your fiber, but you know they're going to be good, and you know there's always going to be that one controversial player. And next year when Cooper Flagg will be there, dude, it's going to be on a completely different level. Yeah. And like you were mentioning, men's college basketball needs that. Men's college basketball needs some cultural relevancy because women's college basketball in terms of star power has surpassed them. So there you go. Appreciate that. Well, did your son come back in? Ben, why does he do it? Why does he do it?
He's had a very tough day.
Oh, Ben?
Yeah. By the way, two of my friends who I think you know them maybe, Ryan and Lyle came to my house this weekend, and they wanted Ben wanted them to play baseball with him. Dude is the next Tommy Tanks. I'm just telling you.
Oh, your son?
Yeah, dude can absolutely rake.
Let's go.
Like, you know, he's 4. He's supposed to be in T-ball. And you can ask them. This isn't me. Okay, you can ask them. All right?
Let's go.
He could be in coach pitch.
Okay.
He's 4.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to print a bunch of just made up baseball cards, and I need you to get him to sign them, and that'll be his first signature.
Even better, because he's learning to sign his name now. He's got to do it by April the 13th. Okay, that's when the daycare says he's got to know how to. He's got a really tough name, but he's got to learn. See?
Yeah. So So for those that don't know, I like to keep some baseball cards in my collection. I'll text you like a baseball player's name and like tell me he's good, and that's how you give me some extra early scouting reports. So I'm going to need that bin signature, and I'm going to put that on my wall, baby. Let's go.
All right, Carter the Power Bryant. Thank you so much, buddy.
Let's go.
See you next Monday. All right. Oh, what'd you say?
I just said cheers. Have a good one.
All right, later, buddy. All right, that's Carter the Power Bryant. Let me get to a very quick break. We return. Got to touch on LSU baseball. We do that next.
Rufino and Joe Show is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, which is the best, without a doubt, premium collegiate apparel brand that is out there. They have over 150 different colleges that you can choose from, whether you're an Illinois fan or a Rutgers fan, maybe you're an LSU fan like Blake, or maybe you're an Alabama fan. Whatever it is, even Idaho, they have so many different designs for so many different football programs that I can guarantee you're going to find some great stuff to help root for your favorite team. I've already gotten my Notre Dame stuff. Blake has his LSU stuff. Make sure you head on over to homefieldapparel.com to check out your team's collection of clothing apparel that they have on the website. And when you do so, when you check out, make sure you use promo code RufinoJoe to get 15% off your order. That is RUFFINO, Rufino Joe. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com and get your college gear today.
The NFL free agency is one of my favorite times of year. You know, like Leonard Williams just signing, obviously Kirko Cousins going to the Falcons, $100 million guaranteed. Let me just say this to the Saints fans. I know you're going to hate me for saying this. Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback in the division right now. It's not Baker Mayfield. It sure as hell isn't Derek Carr. And Bryce Young, where he maybe could be that guy, did not show that he could be that guy last year. Obviously, C.J. Stroud at Houston did a lot more better things than he did. What I would say is I do think, as much as it would pay me, I do not like Atlanta. I hate Atlanta. They got a lot of good offensive pieces. Think their offensive line is decent enough. They got a good running back. They got Kyle Pitts, Drake London. They have pieces in Atlanta now with Kirk coming in. And I do think the biggest misconception with a guy like Kirk Cousins, a lot of people call him mid, that he's just a mid guy. Maybe, okay, but what is mid to you? Because he's a guy that's thrown had multiple seasons where he's thrown for 30-plus touchdowns and smaller interceptions. Now, 1 year he had 14. It wasn't good enough. I get that. Kirk Cousins has been pretty decent with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think that that's even debatable. Anytime you have 30-plus touchdowns in the NFL, that's an accomplishment. I mean, Dak led the NFL last year with 36 touchdown passes. Kirk Cousins has had a year where he's thrown for 35. We think about Kirk because he's just bland, plaid shirt wearing Kirko chains. But I do think that he is and has been a better quarterback than people give him credit for. He sure as hell is the best quarterback in the NFC South. Let me talk about LSU baseball before we get out of here. I wish I had more time. I probably should have spent more time on this. And unfortunately, I couldn't because of absolute stupidity when it comes to, when it comes to just idiots, really. That's how I want to say it. But I do need to talk about a little bit of LSU baseball here before we get out. Look, LSU 2 of 3 from Xavier, and I saw some panic on the game on Sunday where I don't necessarily disagree with some of your takes about maybe being a little bit concerned about what you saw on Sunday, not the bats not being hot. I understand it. Like, fully, I do understand what you're saying. But people look at Xavier and think that they were a bad baseball team, which is really funny to me because I wanted to tweet a lot of you that were in our mentions, in our DMs, whatever, what have you, about, well, man, you just can't, you got to sweep a team like Xavier. You're LSU, you probably should. You took 2 of 3 from a team that was in a regional last year. Oh, by the way, beat Vandy to knock them out of their regional last year, if just in case you forgot. They have not been a bad baseball team. Now, I'm with you. I think there's a lot to be desired, and I think that there's some things that they got to work through at the plate. I think Kling, although he had the big hit against Southeastern, I think he's really struggled. I think Tommy Tanks at times has struggled and is trying to do too much. He's hitting into way too many double plays. I personally think, which is still his style, I do think he's been a little overly aggressive to some things here, but I still think that he's fine. I still think he's going to be okay. I think you're going to be okay at the plate. I mean, this is the thing with this team when it comes to offense. They will have 2-3 really solid performances, and then there's going to be one in there where you're going to have to win a 3-2 ball game. That's how this team's built, and you do have the staff that I think can help you and to do that. I don't disagree with anybody who says that they have concerns about what LSU is doing offensively. I remind you of a few things on why I specifically wouldn't be and am not. Number one, okay, I think it's pretty simple. I just don't worry about Jay Johnson when it comes to dudes developing and getting better at the plate. Number two, guys, we've played 16 games. Yeah, 16 games, I believe. You got 40 more in the regular season. You got 2 this week in the midweek before you hit the SEC and SEC play. I do just question if maybe there are some concerns in reference to some of the guys, and I think Jay has shown that in reference to like the outfield right now. You are not set at any position. Now, maybe Kling at center, maybe, okay, and I will give you that, and probably why he's going to be a high draft pick. Right now, he's projected in the second round. Somebody say he's projected in the first. They're absolute idiots. He's projected in the second round. That's why they don't know baseball. Bottom line is they're not settling the outfield, and they got to figure it out. Now, Ethan Fry got hurt, and he was having some really solid and good performances. Kling was a little bit hurt on Sunday. I understand that. But there's a reason why Ashton Larson is continuously getting his shot, because he's been really good and I thought was pretty decent this weekend, along with Jake Brown as well. You're just going to have to walk through some of these growing pains to get where you need to be. And it is what it is. And I don't think that you should be concerned about a team that was in a regional last year beating you 2 out of 3. I really don't. Like, that is where I'm at. Where I am at is I just don't see a world where you can be upset. It's like losing losing one game in a weekend series to ULL. A team that people think aren't any good, but instantly forget because they don't follow it all. All they follow is LSU. Is that Xavier wasn't good, even though they knocked out Vandy in their region. And I understand from year to year, they had a lot of players hit the portal. You got one of them, Justin Lohr, and I get that. They're still a decent program. They're probably good enough to make their regional. They're very but they're a very good-looking team. They got a lot of athletes on that team. I just think that we're overlooking that. I vastly think that we're overlooking that. I get they lost a lot, but I still think that they're a really good team and program. Okay. S. Young says a lot of batters are pressing. Jay will get it sorted out. I do think they are. I do ask a question or have a thought, like maybe just take the first pitch. Like, do what you had the same approach that you had against Texas. That was the best game that I thought against that caliber of opponent that they had, because this is baseball, man. Like, this is baseball, and this is going to happen. You just might have to live with some of these growing pains, and that's what they are. I am not worried at all, really. I think if you get midway through SEC play and you're still having these issues, all right, I'm with you. You should have figured it out by April. You should have figured some things out at the play, at least getting a little bit more understanding of who your guys will be. Even into May, like maybe late April, early May is when I'd probably start saying, yeah, man, I just don't know. I just don't know. We'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace.